Hello everybody, it's me Phuong here, and today I'm going to talk about the action of picturing something in your mind and how some people can't do that. First, what does your mind's eye mean to you when you imagine something without looking at it? Well, when you imagine something, you can actually picture it in your mind. Well, most of you can, right? Like its color, its shape, what it might look like. Some people could even think of how it might sound, or maybe about food or drinks, how it might taste. So, your mind's eye could mean a lot when you just imagine something without looking at it because it could actually help you form pictures of it. How do you feel when you realize that some people can't visualize images in their minds at all? Well, for me, I was like really shocked because with me, picturing something in your mind is like something obvious. Like everybody could do it because it's so easy. But after this talk, I just knew that there was like a condition called aphantasia, which like it doesn't give you the access to your mind's eye. So you can't actually picture anything. Or like another kind is like hyperphantasia. That's when you can visualize, but like in exquisite details, sometimes even able to superimpose what you imagine in reality. Like they're like actually so different because people with aphantasia they can't imagine anything at all, while people with hyperphantasia they could imagine things like so realistic. Like I think I don't have hyperphantasia because sometimes the things that I think in my mind are a little bit weird. Why do you think the viral dress image made people argue about what they saw? Blue, black, or white, gold? Um, for some people, they could like actually see like that dress is blue and black, and they obviously think that other people would have to look at it just like them. But for some people, just some, they might actually visualize that like dress as white and gold. So you actually have to argue about like your opinion and how you see things, and that's how you can understand about the condition of aphantasia. In what ways might aphantasia change the way someone understands story, memories, or people? When you think about stories or some of your memories or the people around you, you have to think a lot. Like um, the things that happened in the stories, or the people who were with you in your memory, or the face of the people that you knew. You imagine and picture many things in your mind when you think about those things. But people with aphantasia change the way of looking at those things, like everything. You can't think of anything. Like you can't think of the plots, you can't think of the stories, you can't think of anything. How could having or lacking mental imaginary affect your creativity or problem solving? When you don't have imaginary, when you don't have imagination, then your creativity would like you would lack creativity, because creativity is when you think of something that mostly they aren't real. So when you can't imagine things, you don't actually have creativity. And sometimes the problem solving almost always based on the creativity. Okay, I'm back. Do you think people with vivid mental imaginary and those without can learn from each other? Well, of course, because when you know some skill and another person doesn't, and they know another kind of skill, you guys can actually learn from each other, like each other's mistake, and you could teach each other, right? So it's the same with the people with aphantasia. People with vivid imaginary, they could imagine things like so vivid and unreal that sometimes you might even question them. Like, how could you even think of this? There's actually an example. If you know the movie Avatar, the the person who created that movie was like he has to have a really vivid imaginary, because there are so many scenes and so many kind of plants and creatures in there, and they look so weird, and I could never think of those things. But people with aphantasia, they can't think of anything at all, so they could actually learn from each other. How might your understanding of yourself change after learning about aphantasia and mental imaginary differences? Well, I don't, my understanding of myself doesn't actually change, because I've always thought of like imagining things as something like really obvious, but now I think that some people can't and some people can. So I think the people who have aphantasia are actually very interesting, because, well, we're just different. So I want to learn more about them. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.